Hey Stampers, Kim from stampingimperfection.com. Thanks for joining me today. Yesterday I made a card and a video, and I really loved the way the card turned out, but not the video so much. So I decided that I would remake the video today, and I wanted to share the card with you because I really loved the way this turned out. I feel very happy with this, and I can't wait to send it to my daughter. This is made from the September 2018 My Favorite Things Beautiful Blooms stamp set, and I really loved this stamp set. I love big graphic flowers, and I was very happy with the set. I felt like this was actually a really good value for a card kit, and you can see that it came with all this stuff. It came with a beautiful bloom, which is one gigantic bloom, and it has the coordinating die. I love when I get the coordinating die because a lot of times when I get blooms like this, I like to fussy cut them, but I'll stamp them in several layers and I'll fussy cut around different parts so that I can stack them on foam tape and get a really dimensional card. So I like that this will save me one layer of cutting. I'm not actually going to use that piece today from the kit. It also comes with this Hello Beautiful sentiment set, and I really love this. I love sentiment sets that have a beautiful script, like focal sentiment, and then lots of secondary sentiments that you can make with it. Like this one, I chose Amazing Marvelous You. I think it's just a beautiful sentiment. And today I would like to make one that says, let's see, where's the one I want to use? It says Make Today, and I'm going to add Beautiful. So I love that. Love, love, love. And I love that there's a combination of script and a different font, a print font. And it also came with this two-layer beautiful script die. You can see that here. It gives you the background one that I did in white, and then the top layer, the beautiful top layer, and it's just such a pretty way to do the script die. I love the layered look like that. Now I did a watercolor technique. It's an emboss resist watercolor technique. This is super simple because it's just basically wet on wet, drop in color, very fun. Let me just share with you the other contents of the kit. The kit came with, these are papers that I've already cut down and I'm going to use. It came with a lot of paper. It came with this really pretty glitter paper or glimmer paper, and this is the softest, most flexible, very fine glimmer paper. It's so pretty. I have all kinds of ideas of what I want to do with this. It also came with an idea sheet, and I love the idea sheet. This is the sample that they shared that actually inspired my card. I just wanted more fall colors. I just thought that was really pretty. So it comes with ideas. I always fold this up and store it with the stamp and die set so that I always have the inspiration sheet there. Now it also came with this really heavy piece of vellum. This is heavyweight vellum, and I love that. I don't think I've ever worked with vellum this heavy before. It came with a bunch of white cardstock, and actually that looks almost vanilla. Nope, that's white. And then it came with a bunch of different colors of browns, yellows, oranges. So it came with this variety of fall colors. Like these are perfect for fall. And I selected this particular one, this almost salmon orange color, because it went so well with the inks that I used. So I'm going to put these aside. And these are the ones I'm going to use. So here's what I've got. I pulled out a piece of, this is Canson XL watercolor paper. This is cold press paper. And I cut this at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Then I have this piece of the salmon orange color cardstock. They probably called it something different, from My Favorite Things. And I cut this at 4 by 5 1/4. Then this is my card base, and this is from the card kit. It's also a pretty heavy weight cardstock, and This I cut at 4 1/4 by 11 and I scored it at 5 1/2. So those are going to be my layers. I'm going to put those aside. I'll keep the watercolor paper out. And then for my watercolor, I'm going to actually, on the watercolor paper, I'm actually going to emboss with white the floral image. And I'm going to do it 4 times. And you can see on the card that I didn't even get a whole bloom in any one spot, and I really only had to stamp it 4 times. So that's what I'm going to start with. So pretty, pretty, pretty. I love how My Favorite Things does this part. They actually attach that back piece to the front, so I'm not searching all over my desk for that piece that I peel off. And I really like that. I don't know why, it just, to me, it seems so convenient. So I'm going to put this here, and notice I'm using my Misty. I found that I had to actually stamp the cold press paper, the watercolor paper, 2 or 3 times. I re-inked my Versamark ink pad, so hopefully I can get a good inking with just like stamping it once. I won't have to stamp each image. And give it a good press. CPR stamping, that's what they call that. I'm going to give it one more inking, because that's not terrible, but I really want it to be covered well. And then I'm going to flip this over on this side, and I'm going to try to get 2 inkings before I put my powder on. So let's see if I can get this in there. Do the same thing here. That looks pretty good. I know you can't see that at all. I can see it, so let's put the powder on. And I love this big tub. Like I started keeping my white embossing powder in this big tub, and I use my embossing powder so much more. It took a ridiculous amount of embossing powder to actually get this tub reasonably full. But it's so convenient because I can just dunk it in and I'm not pouring embossing powder. And I'm gonna stamp on this 2 more times to get the sides that I missed. And I kind of would like to so before I heat this up, oops, I think I will ink these last 2 sides. Let's see, I only need a little bit. I don't need to ink up the whole thing. Okay, then I'll flip it over, and I'm being very careful, being very careful not to touch the parts that I just inked up. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. Okay, so and I'm not using the embossing buddy or the powder thing because if I get stray white powder on this, I'm not too worried about it because the technique I'm using, actually, the stray powder kind of gives it a fun textured effect or adds a little bit of texture. So it, like, I don't feel like it takes away from the card at all if I get some stray powder. So I don't worry about it. So now I'm going to go ahead and heat set this and put this aside. At this point you could, the next thing I'm going to do is actually watercolor this, and at this point you could tape it down to a board, but I'm just going to do a quick technique, so I'm not too worried about it. So I'm pulling out my flat brush, and I'm pulling out, oh, that's huge. I like a big round brush, that's pretty big also. Where's my favorite size? Thinking I did not put it away. Here we go. I'm going to pull out my number 10 round brush. Most of the time I use the 6, 8, and 10, and I think that I find these easier to control because as I'm learning techniques, the larger brushes seem to be easier to control than the smaller ones. So I've been mostly like concentrating on using the larger ones, but especially for a technique like this. I want a lot of water, and I just want this to be a quick thing. So for as far as my colors go, I actually have, and I'm going to do one modification. I actually have these ink cubes from a couple of, actually, yes, they're probably from 2 different My Monthly Hero stamps, or card kits. I love card kits, I don't know if you can tell. And I love when they send ink cubes in them. I have this like almost a burgundy red, and I liked this color a lot. It's super pretty. It doesn't have a name on it, so I don't know what color this is. Then this is Fiesta Red. So I'm squishing them onto my my Ranger craft mat here. And now this is Fiesta Yellow, and I really liked a lot of yellow, so I'm going to put a bunch of yellow. Like, I realized I just really love the way that yellow came out, and plus I could use the yellow to mix. And I wanted a little blue, so that's Fiesta Yellow, Fiesta Teal, Fiesta Red, and then this Burgundy Red. And then the other thing that I want to do is I want to add a little bit of Perfect Pearls. Now, somewhere I probably have a craft scoop. I'm not sure where that is. I don't want to, you don't need too much of this, but I'm just going to put some of that powder down. And because I wished, after I made the card I made yesterday, I was kind of wishing that I had added a little shimmer. So some Perfect Pearl powder, and this is just white Perfect Pearl powder, should be perfect. Perfect. Alright, so I'm going to do 2 things now. I'm going to spritz this. I've got my distress sprayer. I really love this distress sprayer. And then I'm going to take, and notice that I spritz it till it kind of like balls up, sort of. Then I'm going to take my big wide brush, and I'm going to cover the top of my card. And pardon the fact that I'm not using clean water, because I have not yet got a sink anywhere near my craft room, and I keep forgetting to bring water with me. So I'm just covering that, and that wide brush is totally perfect for that. I will clean up some of this extra water, and then I'm going to take my paintbrush, and I'm going to take some of the different colors. Ooh, that mat is really sticky there. And I'm just going to dab some color in around. And then I'll take some of this, and I'm going to mix some of the Perfect Pearls in. And I loved the way the pink looked on different parts of the card. And then I'm going to grab some more of that Perfect Pearl and take some of the yellow. And since I have some of the pink on my brush, it's going to give me a little bit of orange, and I'm just dabbing it around. And since I have quite a bit of water on my card, it's actually, the water is going to do all the work in mixing it. I love this technique because this card is not going to look anything like my card from yesterday. So let's see if I can grab some more of that Perfect Pearls powder and mix it in with the yellow, because if you add some of that Perfect Pearls powder, or if you, instead of using water, you spritz your paints with shimmer mist, like one of the shimmer sprays. I need to take out some cleaner yellow here. But if you use shimmer mist instead of like I have water in this distress sprayer, that shimmer mist actually comes out super pretty. And it gives you sort of a sheen to your card. See if I can get some more yellow in there. We'll see, my yellow is turning into mud. Add some more of this pink. This one looks completely different than my other one. Okay, and now I want to add a little of this blue. I don't know why. I love a little of the blue dabbed in. And then maybe go back to that super dark red. Although there's something sticky on my craft mat, and that's not coming out very red. Okay, this sort of looks like mud. So I try to get all the spots that look like they weren't covered. My card yesterday had a lot more of the yellow. Let's see if I can put a little more of that red in. Okay, so now I'm going to clean off my brush and let this dry. And I'll probably speed it along. Being impatient, I will probably speed it along with my heat tool. And I'm going to clean up my desk and make sure I have all the paint off my desk. Put that aside and make the other parts of the card. So just make sure your surface is super clean before you move on to the next part. Now I want to bring out this is one of my favorite little tools. This is the Altenew Blossom die cutting machine. They called it the Mini Blossom, I think. And it's got two cutting pads. One is thick, one is thinner. I always put the cutting part on the thick part. And I love this little thing. I keep it right on my desk, and this is the kind of project it's perfect for. Now, I discovered these little fun things from Sizzix the other day. I was browsing their website, and I found that they have these little adhesive sheets. I have big ones that I purchased somewhere else, but I found these smaller ones. These are like 2.5 by 4 3/4. These are two-sided sticky sheets, and I especially love them for using script dies. So they came in a package of 10, and I actually happened to get them on sale, so I was excited about that, because who doesn't love sale? So I have a piece on the back of the black already, and I'm going to, this is going to just immediately put adhesive onto my it's going to immediately put adhesive onto my sentiment, my die cut sentiment. And yes, maybe I'll go like this time. So I'm going to put this down on, I actually want it on my thicker one. It probably doesn't matter, but I feel like if I do all the cutting on the thicker mat, then my plates will last longer. So I'll run this through, and now it's only about the plates are only about 2.5 inches wide, but for this kind of thing it's perfect. And if you're like me, I have a cutting station where I have my Big Shot and my Cricut Maker and all my dies and embossing folders and all the tools that go with my Big Shot on the other side of my craft room. So when I just need something little like this, this is super convenient. And because this stays right on my craft desk. Okay, so I'm not going to pop that out yet. Now I want to do the other part of this, and I have a piece of white, and I'm going to cut this down actually so I don't waste this little sliver, because I'm using scraps. And this is just the most wonderful invention. The easiest way. I can't think of anything more unpleasant than, well, I can think of many things more unpleasant, but I don't love taking those skinny little sentiment dies and trying to add glue to the back of them. It's just really, I'm not very good at it. It's like I'm all thumbs. So I'm going to put this on the back of this. So I peeled the paper off. Now this paper works perfectly for doing some watercolor techniques, and I also use it a lot for my glue. So I save that. And I'm going to put the sticky paper down toward my plate. Then I'm going to put my die cut down, and remember the side with the raised edge goes down toward your paper because those are your cutting blades. Put the top cutting pad on top, and I run this forward, and I usually run it back also. Okay, I can put that aside. I'm done with my dies, and then I can take this off. And I still have this sticky, I still have room to do another sentiment on there, which I really love. I love that I have the ability to do that. Now one more piece I need to make before I put my card together is I want to make my secondary sentiment. And I like to use my mini Misty. I have the regular size Misty and the mini Misty, and I really like the mini Misty for this kind of thing, or if I'm just doing something like I use my original size Misty for the last part because I was going to overhang the flower. So I just need to cut a piece of this. So this is just a scrap I have laying around. I have a whole little container full of scraps like this, and I want Make Today. So I'm going to put this down, and I don't want to leave a lot of card around this. I want this to really fit on this. Hopefully I can center it, so all I have to do is make one snip, making sure it's sort of straight, tucking this down. And this one I'm going to heat emboss in black. Now I have my white powder and my clear powder in the big containers, and like I said, I love that I decided to do that. I got a whole bunch of embossing powder on sale at on a clearance rack, and just poured it into a big plastic container, and then I'm using these little ones for my black, silver, and gold. Okay, now heat emboss this, and then I'll be all ready to put this together. So let me bring all my pieces in. So now that I've got everything cut, and I kept this fairly simple, I just pulled out my, this is my Altenew tape runner. It's permanent adhesive, but it does work great as temporary adhesive because it's really little dots of adhesive, so I use this for a lot of different things, and I especially like it for my scrapbooks. I still use my Tombow liquid glue for most of my projects like this, but I really do love this. And I'm going to add some of this on the back of this panel also. Love the way the blue looks. And can you see the shimmer in there? Like, that's very different than this card doesn't have the shimmer, and it looks a little flat, but put the shimmer in and pretty. And you can see the difference in the colors. I use the exact same colors, I just used more yellow in this one, and I mixed the yellow and the pinks and reds together and got lots of shades of orange in this one. So now I've got this beautiful background that has adhesive on the back, and I'm going to remove this that also has adhesive on the back. And I got most of those out. I didn't get all of those pieces out. So I've got my quick stick. The end of the quick stick flips over and gives me a pointy part, which I can use to poke out these little pieces. Right, so now I started at the L end. For some reason I found that to be easier, and just kind of tried to guide it on so that everything was sort of centered. And then one thing I want to do is the eye has the little dot, which I know has a name. I never remember the name of it. And I have this little 1/4 inch foam tape that I'm going to put on the back of these. Okay, so I think I want to do Make Today Beautiful. So I'm going to put this down sort of in the center. I love the shimmer on this card. It wasn't in the center at all. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. And then my last touch is to add my favorite Studio Katia iridescent bubbles. And I love the iridescent ones because they shimmer. And I really like these bubbles because it's a mix of sizes. I should dig through here and get some of the smaller ones. Okay, and I think it's super fun. So to add these, I use my quick stick and I use my multimedia mat. Okay, one thing that I didn't do to the second card that I did to the first one was to add some black spatter. And this one I added the shimmer powder to, this one I added the black spatter, and I just tried to add it up through. I don't like it when it covers the whole card, but I like to have a little spatter. And to do that, I really love this Distress Oxide Black Soot. I do exactly what I did with these little cubes. I smush it on, spritz it with water, use my big round brush, and I roll it around and I really fill it with watery black ink, and then I just tap it down on my finger across the card, and I try to keep it so it doesn't cover the whole card, because I think some spatter kind of flowing across the card is really pretty. So it's one of the techniques I've been doing a lot lately. So those are the two different cards that I created with the Beautiful Blooms My Favorite Things card kit for this month. And I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Stop by my blog at stampingimperfection.com and make sure you give this video a like and share with your friends.